Thanks for coming on the show.
You're welcome. Thank you for
20
having
years.
me.
I read this book in college, and it changed the way I saw the world. Why is everything in this wrong?
Well, we didn't have ChatGPT yet.
Let's start with the title, Freakonomics. Come
Yeah.
on, like that makes everyone think it's a study on like Diddy parties or something. You know?
That's what our publisher thought. They said, "There's no way we can call this book Freakonomics." They said, "Do you know what freak means?" And I thought I did, but then they said it has to do with children, animals, sex,
Well,
things
okay,
like
yeah.
that. And I didn't actually know that.
But you went with it anyway.
We persevered, yes.
And it's a real, I mean, before we get into the substance of the book, it's almost a triumph for publishing this story that you made this book, because when you co-wrote it, you guys didn't think that it was going to become the phenomenon.
We did not. We did not. I think every writer, like you finish your manuscript, then it goes to the publisher and they're getting it ready. And that's the period that we call the lull before the lull. Because you assume that you work hard on it, but most books, you know how many books are published every year? It's like 250,000. And most people, the average American, reads like 0.
So the numbers are not good.
The numbers are not good.
You could say the Freakonomics don't make sense in that one. But when it's an interesting story you talk about in the foreword of this 20th edition, that you called it Freakonomics. Your publisher said that name's not going to work, and you did it, and so it kind of freed you from the burden of expectation, and you wrote the book you want. Is that because the publisher kind of gave up on it after you named it that? No, in the sense, was the publisher going like, "Hey, these are not listening to us anyway. You don't want to listen. We're just publishers. What do we know? We just sell books every day. You don't want to listen to us. Okay, right, what the you want?" And then you wrote it and it blew up,
Yeah.
and then you want to rub it in their faces the whole time.
Yes, that is exactly what happened, yes.
Great, awesome. No, I love it. Yeah, dude. We all love underdog showbiz stories of sticking it to meddlesome, producers and studios. And I mean, in case for the less educated people here who don't know, this book is divided into kind of almost case studies.
Yeah.
Right? Which is also unconventional structure for a book.
Yeah, that's true.
Right.
Yeah, we didn't have, so I have a co-author, Steve Levitt, who was on this show, probably in the studio right near here, but not the same one 20 years ago when the book first came out. He was on with Jon Stewart.
Oh,
and
I'm sorry you had to come on with me.
And we didn't expect the book, we had a blast writing it. And Levitt is an economist, I'm a writer. We started to spend some time together. And he did in economics what I like to do as a writer, which is find whatever stories, often odd or surprising, and just go deep on them. But the beauty of this is I'm a writer, we look for stories, but Levitt as an economist had data. So we had data on sumo wrestlers and real estate agents and what people name their babies and all these different things. And so what we did is we just told stories like you do in a regular book, but with a lot of data, and we showed our homework. We tried to really explain to the listener why this thing that we say that is true, why you should believe it. And it's really hard for me to understand why it succeeded the way it did, other than there were a lot of young people like you in college trying to figure out, I know when the authority figures tell me the way the world works, they're lying. I know that. And institutions, they kind of tell you one story, but it doesn't work out that way. So we were just trying to blow the lid off that with data.
For sure. Now that you mention it, it did feel very countercultural at the time when, now 20 years later, you guys are the institutions now.
I guess
you guys are the old guys, But I mean it. When I said it changed the way I look at the world, it did, because it kind of made me think about, it was very easy to read, first of all. So it was kind of like academics, but made dumber.
Yeah, I was my partner is an academic, so you know what part I am of that.
No, you made it accessible, and regardless of, whatever was the facts involved, but it just made me think of it's a different way to look at the world, that there's these, you could take two separate situations and there could be hidden causation. Between them.
That's
so,
right.
for people, again, for the uneducated people on social media who are watching this on YouTube on their toilet while taking a shit, so for example, if you haven't read the book, there's a story in here about connecting.
Can I just say, I'm glad that they're taking a shit on the toilet. I mean, that's a win. You gotta...
I guess.
You guys.
I mean, that someone consider it the bare minimum, but I guess in 2026 we take that as a win these days. If you're taking a shit on the toilet, congratulations, you made it to the toilet. And there's connections here between abortion and crime rates and stuff like that. So 20 years later. I reread this. I think there was a second edition. You added a foreword.
Yeah.
But really, it hasn't changed that much.
It didn't.
So
I mean,
do the studies and the connections still hold up? You think?
Yeah, I mean, I know thanks to the internet, which we all love in many different ways.
The internet. I hate you guys. Legacy media for life. Basically.
So it is true that if you do good nonfiction work, so I'm a journalist by training, worked at the New York Times, et cetera, there are a lot of things that are great about real journalism, including the fact that rather than asking one person what's going on, you ask a lot, you fact check it, et cetera, et cetera. That said, if you write a book which is full of what we argue is all true stuff backed up by data, there will be a million people who say, well, in my experience, that's not true. Sure. And then it starts a kind of pissing war there. The good news is that the book, which we kind of went back and re-examined a bunch of times, and Levitt and his co-author on the abortion crime study that you mentioned actually went back and did a whole new study with 20 years more worth of data. And yeah, the book is legit. I was very happy.
Great. Oh, that's good to know.
It was great to know.
If you were to rewrite this book in 2026.
Oh, not possible.
Oh, why not?
Not possible. Like when I read it now, I hear the voices of the people that we were then. And when you're 20 years younger, you're a different person. You're a little bit. I think we're a little bit more like callow, and also the environment was different. You could just say stuff. Now, you're in an environment where, because of the amplification of social, no matter what you say, there will be an avalanche coming at you, and unless you're really good at tuning it out, which I encourage everyone to become really good at, because that's important, then you're gonna doubt yourself, and you're gonna dial it down, you're gonna make boring stuff, and we did not want to be boring.
Okay, I don't know if you watch this show, we talk about a ton of shit every day. And I say this. I say this with truly no bravado.
Yeah.
Objectively, we truly do not give a on this show. Like if you watch it, so I kind of disagree on this. We can't say anything now.
Okay, I'm gonna leave.
No, please don't leave. But I guess what I was trying to, not so much that you were younger and more spry back then. I just mean like...
I was so spry, let me tell you.
But what I meant more was like, if you were to write this book now, what case studies might you put in there? That's kind of what I meant.
I would, I mean, the ones I've been thinking about are not necessarily as fun. Like there were a lot of fun ones, sumo wrestling I mentioned, so on. Like I would write a lot about AI now.
Sorry, just to sell the book, could you quickly explain the connection between sumo wrestling and...
Oh, yeah. So it turns out that sumo wrestlers will collude with each other, even sumo wrestlers from opposite teams or stables, because they will help each other kind of maintain their rank in the big rankings that determines basically whether you eat or not. Okay. So we looked at collusion in sumo wrestlers. Okay. We looked at cheating teachers, which I think probably still happens a little bit. Can I tell you what's so interesting about that? We looked at, turned out that teachers, when the standards were raised for children, the No Child Left Behind standards where, schools would be punished if a certain number of children would fail, it turned out there were some teachers that would actually cheat on behalf of their students. They would actually take their standardized tests, erase the wrong answers, and write in the right ones, which is terrible and sad. Sad face. But what was particularly interesting was that the teachers who cheated were the bad teachers. In other words, it was the bad teachers who had to cheat on behalf of their students because the teachers hadn't done a good job teaching them. So now I think we would write about AI.
What I love, sorry, before you get to the 2026
I don't even have to get to the 2026.
No, I do want to hear what you hear, but one thing I love about the whole tone of these books is that you kind of present all this stuff as you just did, kind of objectively, without judgment. Here's the connections, whether you like it or not, without providing any solutions whatsoever. And I love it. I love it. That's what it's about. Yeah. It's like,
all right.
You're like,
I would argue
Socrates just throwing these mediocrities in the air and going, I mean, please answer you. But I do want to hear about 2026 though.
I don't care about 2026.
No, I do.
Okay.
I care.
But what I would say is that you're right that we probably don't provide a lot of solutions. But I really appreciate and like that you said without judgment, because I feel that whether you're in entertainment, journalism, running a country, whatever, I think the easiest trap to fall into is bringing your values, which you think are the only values, to every argument, whether it's about healthcare, whether it's about housing and so on. And that's just prima facie a stupid way to operate, because not everybody believes like you. So we were trying to just lay out, like, this is the way the world works, using these case studies or stories, and you, smart person who reads a book, now you go in the world and do something with it without us telling you what to do.
Sure. No, and I think there is value there. There is value there without. So I actually appreciate the tone you guys took with it, and I guess that's why I would love to hear what your 2026 kind of insights would be, so that we could go into the world and act like smartasses like you guys and just drop some factoids on this.
Let me think. Yeah. Okay, if you happen to be seeking asylum and you get before a judge, an asylum judge, make sure you don't have the slot right before lunch. Okay? Bad fortune for you. So if you happen to be like the last one before lunch, you should do something like vomit to clear the courtroom so the judge comes back after he or she has eaten.
Who says you don't provide solutions? You know what I mean? This is what I'm talking about, yeah. And
I'll tell you what I'd be writing about now.
Oh, sorry. Could you just explain a little bit why that's a bad?
Oh, because hungry people make bad decisions. Okay. It's no joke. And if you look at like
but what if my case is weak? I need the judge to make a bad decision to get me into the country, and then
to get you into the country. Oh, that's a different story. Yeah. Okay. So I hadn't gone that far with that logic. I'll tell you. How do you feel about artificial insemination? Is that a topic that interests you?
It interests me a lot, I would have to say, yeah. Okay. I like watching that a lot.
So one thing I've learned recently is that there are two animals that are very popular in America, one of which is conceived
Republicans and Democrats.
One of which is conceived almost always by artificial insemination, the other never. And I found this interesting. The one that always is turkeys. And the reason is that we like to eat breast meat from turkey in America with mayonnaise and mustard and so on. And so they've bred the turkeys to have such big breasts that they physically cannot get close enough to procreate anymore. Therefore, all turkeys you eat are the product of artificial insemination. But on the other hand, thoroughbred racehorses, they're not allowed to be bred by artificial insemination. And the reason is that Kentucky has this real stranglehold, a monopoly on the thoroughbred breeding industry. And they know that if they were to allow artificial insemination, then no longer does everybody have to bring their horses to Kentucky to be bred by a real horse with a real, thing.
Okay, but how do they police that?
There is a horse penis police force.
Just blocking the artificial insemination.
Yeah, I guess it's in the registry. You have to have the mother and father need to be physically present at the same time. Aren't you glad now you know?
No, hey, but this, honestly, being 20 years old and reading all this was actually very eye-opening. So I really appreciate it. Yeah. And like, what else? I mean, any other lessons you take from this that I guess, how do we get people to, I don't know, just read more?
Here's my thing. First of all, people are reading more books now than they were 5 and 10 years ago, which is really interesting.
Oh, that's good.
It's very interesting. It's a surprise because the trend was not going there. I will tell you, I mean, this is apropos of nothing other than I'm a fan of this guy. There's a guy named James Daunt, who's an English bookstore owner. He opened a store called Daunt in London years ago. He was so good at running these small, great bookstores that the Barnes & Noble of England hired him to run their stores, Waterson's. And now the Barnes & Noble of America, which is called Barnes & Noble, hired him to also run Barnes & Noble here. So this one guy has really changed the way books are being sold in America. And I think the Amazon model, everybody liked it because it's easy, but it wasn't really about loving books. And so I think books are coming back with a force. I understand that one is available in finer bookstores.
That's great. Steven, thanks for writing the book. Thanks for changing the way I look at the world. It was really insightful as a young person in college. I really appreciate it. Freakonomics 20th anniversary edition is available now. Be sure to check out the Freakonomics Radio podcast. Steven Dubner, everybody.